Hey, it's Aaron, the Metal Theologian. So, it's kind of been a while. Actually, it's been a couple weeks. So, I'm just going to show some shit I've been listening to. We don't have a whole lot of news anyway, really, but, well, a little bit, I suppose. So, yeah, so anyway, first of all, actually, here's my ankle. A couple people have asked about it, so that's how it's coming along. It looks pretty good if you ask me. It's almost healed up. I think most of the scab's fallen off, some of that kind of reformed there, but yeah, man, I'm styling. I did get a before picture, actually, from my podiatrist, but, I don't know. I haven't really done anything with it except share it with a couple people privately. So, anyway, let's talk about some records, and after we have a little soda. First up, real quick, we're listening to Suffocation. Well, this is their third album, Pierced from Within. And it's awesome. It's a relatively recent reissue. You can find that if you want it. So, alright, anyway, so this is something I got at the Asian market not too long ago. This is a Japanese soda. It's choya, and it's yuzu juice. Or yuzu soda, it's supposed to be. And I don't know what a yuzu fruit is, but the first ingredient is carbonated water. The second is sugar, but then Japanese yuzu fruit juice, and then lime fruit juice. And that's all the ingredients. So, yeah, look at that shit. That's like for real. So, we're going to give this a shot, see how it is. I'm going to be sweating, man, because it's so hot here. Look at that. It's kind of nuts. It's really weird. I forgot to start the movie up. Here, try this.
It's funny.
Ben's video stream.
I think the audio's still on too.
No, I muted it before.
It smells interesting.
Yeah, it's
It smells really green.
yeah, it's kind of its own thing. I don't really know how to describe it. It's have a sip. It is kind of green. It tastes sort of like an underripe citrus fruit of some kind. It's really sort of grassy, kind of green. It's really not bad. It's,
Yeah, like
it's
you can
weird though. I've never had anything quite like it.
It's interesting because the lime, when you drink it, the lime feels like it's going to overpower it.
Yeah,
And then the sort of like grassy flavor comes out really strong after a couple seconds.
yeah, like I mean, I don't really taste any lime in there particularly. A little bit. What do you think?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I like it or not either. I mean, I would drink it again. If I were like at your house and you offered me one, I would totally drink the shit out of one. But I don't know if I would buy a 6-pack and just keep it around, you know?
Try to find the lime, and I think it will come on pretty quickly.
It's more like the mouthfeel that I get that. Like, it's sort of like the tannin, you know what I mean? It's like there's a little, that's not tannin though, it's more like there's like a sour undertone. There's a grassy and like there's a little bit of sour that I feel like I'm getting from that. But I don't know what the yuzu would taste like. There's also like a little bit of like a sort of a tropical fruit component too, you know what I mean?
Well, I think that's the lime from the citrus.
No, it wouldn't be sweet like that though. There's like that sweetness, you know what I mean? It's like that's the first thing you taste, like the sweetness, and the grass kicks in, and like all through it there's sort of like the underlying like tartness.
If we know there's lime in there, and we know that there's the yuzu fruit in there, and we know what the lime tastes like, then I'd assume the other part is the yuzu. But
that process of elimination.
yeah,
Alright, well anyway.
flawless logic.
Yeah. That was some good execution on the logic there. Alright, so, well, this is in the front. I guess everyone knows this is First Morbid Angel. Yeah, whatever. I mean, seriously, you already know Morbid Angel. These are some recent reissues, actually, that I kind of got not too long ago, and I'm really stoked about these, because they came at a great time as far as the whole death metal thing goes. So, Listenable out of France just redid the first 3 Malevolent Creation albums on record. So So we've got Stillborn, which is kind of the sleeper of the three, I think. The first two are, like, highly regarded and really, you know, rightly, you know, well known. This one I haven't heard as much talk about, and what I've heard hasn't been as positive, but I think this is a solid album in its own right. When the three came, I listened to this one first, so it wouldn't be, like, corrupted. And I think if I listened to, like, Retribution before I listened to Stillborn might not have hit as hard, you know what I mean? It might not have seemed as good, because Retribution is just so fucking awesome, as is the Ten Commandments, which is the classic first one. But Stillborn, though, I think is a solid death metal album in its own right. It's just, since it's not as good as the first two, like, if you listen to this one and then listen to it, it's kind of overshadowed, you know what I mean? It's sort of like if you drink some, you know, Blenheim's ginger ale, and then you have some of this yuzu soda. You know, the yuzu soda just isn't as good as the Blenheim's. So, you know, I just met someone the other day, actually, who's from Hamer, South Carolina. It's actually someone at work. I've known him for a while now. I didn't know that, but that's where they make that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, way in the upstate. So I wasn't sure if you'd remember that. So, yeah, that's the local shit, man. It's really good, too. Yeah, so it's a little bit of a mix here. I played this one a couple days ago. This is Adopta in Our Bowl by Cosa Nostra. And this is a Mexican band. There are a couple awesome mustaches there. And this is a rock record. It has a little bit of sort of, I don't really know how to describe it, a little more of a South American feel than a lot of these do. You know, sort of like it's still a pretty big step from something like this to something like, you know, Santana, that's almost like Latino exploitation music, if you ask me. But this is a good record. It's not great. It's not my favorite thing from Mexico. You know, I still like Nahuatl more, but it's a good record. That's, you know, it's not going anywhere. Played this one earlier today. It's the second Bloodgood, which is in my collection, courtesy of Scott Waters. Excuse me. Yeah, the first one I think is a piece of shit, but this one's great. It's funny because there's a little bit of that shittiness, like, sort of creeps in towards the end. Like, some of that sort of, like, a cappella chorus shit. But it's not like on the first one where it's just like, you're just like, oh, Jesus, man, this is disgusting. It's more like, it's sort of there, but, like, by that time you've already bought into it by the time they start doing that a little bit. It's only a little bit, so, you know, it's okay. It doesn't kill the record, you know what I mean? It's a terrible cover, but this record is really solid. I totally recommend it. If you find it, it won't set you back like $100 or anything. In fact, that's the original, which would probably still be cheaper than this reissue of, it's the first Godflesh on Earache. The only ones I have are this one and the first one. Oh, no, that's not true. I have 45. A double 45. Yeah, anyway, just solid shit. It's funny, this is kind of industrial for my taste, really. This has really sort of like an industrial, like, overtone, even though I would say it falls under the metal thing, but, you know, it has that heavy fucking feel, you know? And this is kind of the band that spoiled the Melvins for me, because every time I listen to the Melvins, I always, like, the image I had in my head was more like Godflesh, you know? It was a little less on the industrial, but, like, that sort of slow and sort of intensity, you know what I mean? And the Melvins are a cool band in their own right. I'm not talking shit about the Melvins. They played here maybe 6 months ago, and they were great, you know? But Godflesh, I don't know, that's always sort of the mental, like, thing that I've got going on. So a couple kind of more obvious ones. I played this. You get 10 points if you know who did that cover art, actually. I didn't know this until I got this record. A few years ago now, but it's actually Nick Mason. So, yeah, everyone probably knows this one, too. It's, you know, some 45s, like Arnold Lane and, you know, See Emily Play, and then some stuff from, you know, a couple of the early albums, like Interstellar Overdrive, which is one of their best songs. I think it's great they put it on here as the second tune, because it's kind of intense for a second song, you know? Alright, cool. Yeah, so that's a good comp. It has some decent stuff on it. It's just really listable. Hey, so I stopped the thing by accident. Yeah, anyway. Played this one. Awesome record. You know, actually, speaking of the Melvins, what kind of brought me back to this one was when they finished playing, they started playing this record. And when I heard that intro to Neon Nights, I knew what it was right away, even though I don't know this stuff as well as the Ozzy stuff, but I was like, God, this sounds so fucking good. So, I've been a little bit hooked on this record. Belatedly, I suppose. This Curly Curve record, I might have shown this when I got it, at least a year ago, something like that. It's a little bit sort of I don't know if it's actually goofy, but it has a little bit of sort of a southern rock feel for a German record, which is what this is. This is actually a green brain, so it has a really cool cover. It's like embossed all over and shit. And, yeah, this gatefold and that thin cover, you know. Might as well bust out the brain label too. Watch your feet, okay? It's that classic label right there. Which I'm sure all of you know and love, at least you ought to. Although I think Brain is a little bit overrated compared to, say, Ore. I think the shit on Ore was almost all great. I think there were a lot of turds on Brain, to tell you the truth. I mean, I don't really get excited about, like, the, you know, I think it wasn't a Hard Cake special record on that band, on that label, I think, and a couple other things, like some of those English licenses I don't really give a shit about. Anyway, Curly Curve is a cool rocker. It's not all that heavy, really. It has a couple moments where it's heavy, but it kind of has a southern rock feel, but just a cool, like, listenable record all the way through, you know? This is another relatively recent reissue of Cosmic Corridors record, and I'm really stoked about this, because this are these bands that were supposedly on the Pyramid label. I don't know. You know, supposedly this stuff's legitimate, but this still kind of looks like it's taken from the CD, that cover, so who knows. I don't really care. It's a really awesome record. It's mostly sort of like synthy stuff. You know, there's some other instruments in here too, but it's definitely heavy on like the organ, like the synthesizers and shit like that. Just a real fucking space rock record with emphasis on the space rather than the rock. If you're into that kind of shit, this has my highest recommendation. I actually played this once when I had the Mormons over. Like, I had some missionaries over. I was talking with them. I remember putting that on when I had it on CD back in the 90s. So, here are a couple other reissues that are recent that I'm really stoked about. This is the first Cosmos Factory record. And I'm a big fan of Cosmos Factory, the Japanese band. It's sometimes known as an old castle in Transylvania, but it doesn't actually say that on here anywhere. This is like, it's definitely kind of heavy towards the prog, and it's in Japanese too, which is kind of interesting. Although this has a spoken French part, which I thought was kind of interesting, because I think this is the only record I've ever heard that's primarily in Japanese, but has spoken word part in French. And the guy's French is pretty good, actually. Better than mine, but his pronunciation's good too. Anyway, though, this is like one of the underrated bands. Like, people talk about the Flower Traveling Band rightly. And, you know, the bands that Julian Cope was hyping a few years ago, you know, the Blues Creation, and then going to some of the more psychedelic shit, like, you know, Masahiko Sato, and, I'm spacing some of the other names. Sambu no San is more rockin'. But some of the more, you know, sort of experimental ones, these guys, though, I think are really kind of underrated. They're more sort of prog. They're sort of more in the direction of, like, King Crimson, but it has a really Japanese flavor, and they're really unusual records. I have the first 3 records, and they're all great. The third one actually has the distinction of having a cover that just looks like total shit. It looks like, a 70s AOR record. In fact, I'm just going to grab it, actually. Hang on. Alright, there it is. So check this out. Look at that. Doesn't that look like it's going to be the worst thing ever? Now look, because it actually gets worse. Look at that. What a piece of shit. I actually sent away for this, kind of got it on the reputation. I mean, we're talking 15 years ago now, something like that. But if I had, like, seen the cover, I probably would have wussed out, because that cover is so bad. But I'm going to throw it on for a second, and just check this out. You're not going to believe how good this is. And that first one, the first 3 records are all pretty different from each other, but they're all great. Shit. I can't find the inner. There it is. Yeah, check out that cool vinyl. See, I'm not a snob. I mean, I don't really freak out over these kinds of vinyls, but I'll take the color if I have a chance to. It's, you know, it still looks cool. And they sound good, too. They don't sound so shitty like they used to, so. nice heavy cover.
Ready for someone to find you and say in the comments that you're mispronouncing that?
Oh yeah, my vinyls.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. Mike Seatown was calling it vinyl. I was like, that's fucking hilarious. I'm gonna do that too. Alright, so check this out. Isn't this sort of this disparity between that horrible cover and what this thing actually sounds like? Not AOR bullshit. Alright, I'll let this run while I talk a little bit more here. Here's another one that I was totally hot for. This is Milk Time by Hiro Yanagida. Just feast your eyes on that cover. I mean, how can you not want this? Look at that. Milk Time. And then like at the top, like right there in small letters. It's funny, I'd seen pictures of this cover before, I've never actually seen it. It has his name right there, Hiro Yanagida in Romaji. And then at the top it says, this is the first of rock music series for Milk and Love in Japan. I think that might be the greatest thing, like written on any record ever.
I can think of few things more Japanese than that.
That's so good.
It really is perfect.
Yeah. It's so awesome. Yeah, so this is like mostly instrumental. It's also kind of proggy. Well, it's total prog, okay? But it's not, it doesn't have that English vibe. It has a weird sort of vibe. It's heavy on the violin, a little bit heavy for my taste, honestly. But this is still a really cool record. It's a fun record to listen to. Look at that in the gatefold. That's fucking so good, man. I mean, Jesus Christ. This record's fucking worth it for the cover alone. But it's a cool record, too. I played this several times, totally dig it. And this is Cosmos Factory. So this is the shit record cover.
I'd put up a record wall just to have that thing facing out.
Yeah, I kind of want to look at that all the time. Alright, and then, you know, it's funny. I only have a couple, like, sort of like groove metal records, and in a way I'm not really proud of this because they're kind of corny. But I actually turned on to this one recently. My dealer friend in Colombia is like a big fan of this record. This is one of his all-time favorite records. And I listened to it and I thought it was shit. And I listened to it again and I thought it was shit. And I listened to it again and I thought it was shit. But I kept coming back to it because I was just curious. Because this guy has like thousands of records. He's been dealing for like 20 years or something. So he's heard all this shit, you know. And I'm like, well, man, what am I missing, you know? So I kept coming back to it, and eventually it clicked, you know? I mean, it's a different vibe from most of the shit that I like. I don't know if I can really recommend this if you, like, watch my channel for the metal, because it's kind of corny in a way. It has all these different parts and that. It's kind of busy, but I don't know, man. It just works for me. I just really dig this, and I think this second one is a lot better than their first one, although it's harder to find, unfortunately. What I like even more than that one is this particular Zisma record. The earlier ones were like total grind, and I'm not a big fan of them, but when this came out back in the 90s, I played the shit out of it. And I was really happy when I saw it come out on record, and marked down at Hell's Headbangers, no less. So I got that several months ago now. Less than a year ago, but it's been a while. But look, I'm readjusting them so the ape is in the front. The gorilla. That's some good shit. So, yeah, anyway, we're good? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so my phone started like fucking lagging out and shit. I haven't reset it in a while. I'm kind of doing that now. So hopefully the whole video doesn't get all jacked up. But anyway, that's pretty much what I'm listening to. Listen how good this is. You know? This fucking Cosmos Factory, man. Talk about surpassing the album, too. I mean, I'm no, like, Creedence hater, but I think this is so much better than anything Creedence Clearwater Revival did, including Cosmos Factory, which is one of the better records. So, I don't know, man. I totally surpassed that shit. Anyway, Spencer's been kind of working on me to make a series on, like sort of a history of metal series, like with smaller sections, like in smaller chunks, and these sort of long, sort of more free-form videos. So, it'd probably be geared towards, like, an audience that isn't quite my usual, but if you think that might sound interesting, I wouldn't mind the thoughts on it. So I tend to assume that people know as much what I do, and so I don't know. That's not really necessarily a good thing. So maybe doing something like that would be a good thing. That might be a fun experience anyway. So if you think it's a terrible idea, tell me. If it's a great idea, tell me. If you're indifferent, then that's fine too. I don't give a shit. Because I'm kind of indifferent myself. So, all right. Thanks for watching. Yeah, that's it.